Welcome back, rubes and sluts. I'm ExoParadigmGamer, and today we're going to be looking at what might possibly be in my video game top 10, Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal on PS2. Let's check it out. Despite all the fun I had with Going Commando, it wasn't exactly what you call a Ratchet & Clank fan just yet. No. That's all thanks to Up Your Arsenal. After Up Your Arsenal, the R&C series would start to experiment with itself. From the darker and edgier Ratchet Deadlock, is that game any good? To a couple of titles on the PSP, a handheld of which I have no intention of owning until the price goes down considerably, to the lighthearted and more story-driven Future series on PS3. Seeing as that's the case, Up Your Arsenal might be considered a series high of sorts, one of the best Ratchet & Clank installments yet released. And in my personal opinion, my lack of experience with the handheld titles Deadlocked or Into the Nexus aside, Up Your Arsenal remains the best Ratchet & Clank game to date. Why is that exactly? Well, let's find out. Here comes the plot! After the events of Going Commando, Ratchet & Clank had retired to Clank's apartment in Megapolis and again resumed a more domestic life. Clank's even begun to do some acting on the side in a series of holovid films called Secret Agent Clank, which actually got its own spin-off game. I kind of want to play it. Ratchet, jealous of Clank's success, turns the channel to the news, only to learn that his home planet, Veldin, is being attacked by a race of violent aliens called the Tyrannoids. Supposedly under the command of a supervillain named Dr. Nefarious, the creatures are attempting to annihilate all organic life in the Solana galaxy. Ratchet immediately fixes up his ship for intergalactic travel, and Clank takes along to help his friend save his home planet. Once there, Ratchet teams up with the galaxy's security force, the Galactic Rangers, to successfully push the Tyrannoids off the planet.
Now wait just a second.
Where the flying hell were these guys when Chairman Drek was stealing entire chunks of planets in the first game? It's kind of a gaping plot hole, guys. The Galactic President contacts Ratchet & Clank and tells them that one man was able to successfully defeat Dr. Nefarious in the past, and gives the duo a transmission supposedly noting that man's whereabouts. And what follows is one of my all-time favorite Ratchet & Clank cutscenes.
On tonight's episode of Nature's Mysteries, we examine the Florana tree beast. Deep in the dense growth of Florana's Jambu forest lives a mysterious creature. Or maybe he doesn't. It's one of nature's mysteries.
I seen him run right through our camping site. He was buck naked, screaming and holding a banana. Or maybe it weren't a banana. It could be
one of nature's mysteries. Legend tells that this mysterious creature is actually one of the greatest superheroes who ever lived. Shamed by his recent past, he is now one of nature's mysteries. Tune in and find out the answers.
Ratchet and Clank are able to track down the Florana tree beast, only to learn that the beast is none other than my favorite character, Captain Copernicus Leslie Quark. After the events of the previous two games, Quark placed himself in shameful exile on Florana and gradually lost his mind and memories. Ratchet and Clank are contacted by the leader of the Galactic Rangers, Commander Sasha, who invites the duo to bring Quark to the starship Phoenix. After showing the fallen hero Captain Quark vidcomic, the man behind the Q regains his memory. The President places the former hero in command of the fight against the Tyrannoids, and the Captain assembles the Q Force, a selection of side characters from the first game, including Big Al, Helga, and Skid McMarks, to aid him in the battle against Dr. Nefarious. What follows is a series of comedic hijinks as the ragtag band of characters eventually get wind of Nefarious's plans and gradually delve into Quark's scandalous backstory. From a narrative standpoint, I think Going Commando's story is probably the best. It features the most interesting twists, offers the most unique premise, etc. Up Your Arsenal, in contrast, eschews all of the theatrics and goes for the old cliched supervillain is attacking, stop him and save the galaxy route. And honestly, I think it was a smart move. As engrossing as Going Commando's story was, the side characters and sense of universe kind of got diluted as a result. Up Your Arsenal, in contrast, throws the narrative on the back burner, allowing the entertaining natures of all the characters to carry the story instead. This could have easily blown up in Insomniac's face, but it works exceptionally well. And it's not like the story is completely devoid of drama or narrative either. As you learn more about Nefarious's plans, it becomes clear that he has bigger plans for organic life than you might have thought. Side plots with characters like Clank and Captain Quark also offer some conflict and character development as well, allowing the characters to stay three-dimensional despite the practically cartoonish premise. It also doesn't hurt that the writing in this game beats the crap out of the previous two, or that this game somehow manages to be funnier than the last two combined, or that there's more Quark. That never hurt nothing. From a gameplay standpoint, Up Your Arsenal manages to take the revamped formula from the second game and make it just that much better than before. And I wouldn't have thought that possible. Up Your Arsenal is set in the Solana Galaxy, just like the first game, but unlike Kingdom Hearts 2, only a few of the planets from the first game make a reappearance, with the rest of the levels being completely new. The few planets you revisit, Kerwan, Iridia, and Rilgar, all have completely different levels to explore along with new stage hazards and enemies. The Starship Phoenix more or less acts as a hub in this game, where you'll communicate and strategize with the Q-Force, before being given new missions to do. Most of the formula is the same as before. Go to planets, do missions, collect gadgets and weapons, defeat enemies, solve puzzles, etc. Beating enemies will give you a nanotech boost. You can buy new armor suits to decrease damage from enemies, and your weapons will upgrade after you use them long enough. One important difference is that the weapons will upgrade more often. And yes, Ethan, I am pronouncing the T. In the second game, you could only upgrade weapons once during the main playthrough. To upgrade them further, you had to buy mega weapons and upgrade them to ultra status during the challenge mode. Another problem was that some of the weapons took a million years to finally upgrade, while others upgraded right away. In Up Your Arsenal, you buy weapons one time, and you can upgrade them all the way to level 5 over the course of the main playthrough. Because weapons upgrade more often, it doesn't feel like it takes as ridiculously long for weapons to get better. With each level, the weapons get higher ammo counts, become more powerful, and by later levels, the weapons will receive mods similar to those you could purchase from Slim Cognito and Going Commando. For those who didn't care for hunting down the gold or platinum bolts from the previous games, the fact that you no longer have to pay for these mods is surely a huge blessing. So what do the titanium bolts you can find in this game do? Using them, you can unlock special skins that'll change Ratchet's appearance. Want to play as a snowman? How about a bug? Your strange fetish has been granted. If you have an R&C3 save file, you can even unlock his outfit from the first game. The collection of weapons in this game is easily the best yet. While you can still use old classics like the Not Blaster, the Not Bomb Glove, the Not Pulse Rifle, and the Not Blitz Gun, the addition of new mods and the 5-level upgrade system allow these useful weapons to stay interesting. Some old Gadgetron weapons return, like the Suck Cannon and the Agents of Doom, and you can even get some of the Megacorp weapons from Slim Cognito, like the Shield Charger or the Lava Gun. There are plenty of new additions as well, my favorites being the Spitting Hydra, which can lock on to up to 7 enemies at once, and the Rift Inducer, which can create black holes that will suck up enemies. The collection of weapons in Up Your Arsenal, featuring a combination of new spins on old concepts, great weapons from the last 2 installments, and completely new and interesting ideas, is easily the best of any R&C game I've yet reviewed. Clank sections return, and there's actually more than before, with each offering new puzzle elements. While the bridge bots and hammer bots don't return, Clank does get to work with Scrunch, Quark's monkey friend from Florana. Using a banana gun, Clank can use Scrunch to distract guards and press switches from a distance. It sounds stupid, but it's actually pretty fun. Of course, the gadget bots from the first game are back, and you'll still have to manage them to defeat enemies and open doors. Overall, the Clank puzzles could have been more interesting, but I still find that they throw some variety into the mix. Unfortunately, there's only one giant Clank section in this game, and it's only for one boss fight. Giant Clank wouldn't really be seeing much action in the R&C series after Up Your Arsenal, which I think is a shame. It's not like there was much Giant Clank in the first 2 games, but I think adding one more section would have sealed the deal. Difficulty-wise, I find the challenge in Up Your Arsenal to be toned down from the previous game. That's not to say the game is too easy. Up Your Arsenal still offers plenty of challenge, and I actually found myself dying more times than I thought I would. Checkpoints seem more common, and the distance between them not as big. A decent number of bosses once again appear to give our main dyad a run for their money, but their health bars don't seem as beefy as the previous 2 games, so you don't have to unload every single one of your weapons to defeat them. While Going Commando certainly has a higher level of challenge, I only really feel that's the case because Up Your Arsenal gets rid of what little bullshit was present in that game. Also, no annoying turret sections. That's always a plus. Like Going Commando, there are plenty of side quests to fall back on if the main adventure isn't quite keeping your attention. I hope you weren't too attached to the ship sections from the last game because they're nowhere to be found. I'd be sobbing my eyes out if it weren't for the fact that these sections weren't the greatest to begin with. There are 5 Quark vidcomics you can play, which all elaborate in Quark's previous adventures to stop Dr. Nefarious. In these sections, you take control of Captain Quark in a 2D side-scroller where you platform about and punch and shoot at enemies. While you're required to play through all of these levels to beat the game, you can get Platinum Bolts if you can find all 100 Quark tokens in a level. The Quark sections are a lot of fun and helps Up Your Arsenal stand out from other games in the series. These comics also feature some of the funniest cutscenes in the game, but it's Captain Quark, so how could they not be?
When Captain Quark encountered the Amoeboids for the first time, he immediately executed Emergency Response Plan number 2.
Hey, wait just a minute.
There's also a side quest similar to the mining areas in Going Commando. On planet Aquatos, you can hunt down sewer crystals in the sewer tunnels and sell them to the series running Gag, the plumber, for a metric but fuck ton of bolts. I recommend taking this quest on in multiple trips if possible. The only enemies you'll find in here are Amoeboids, these snot-like creatures that'll gradually divide into smaller enemies before finally dying. If too many of them spawn, the level can suffer some slowdown, making this quest take even longer. What's nice though is that it's easier to refill your weapons, and if you have a map-o-matic, the map will show you where all the sewer crystals are. Possible slowdown aside, the sewer quest is an improvement over the mining areas from Going Commando. Next is Annihilation Nation, where you can test your skills in two types of challenges. You've got your platforming-oriented death gauntlets, where fire platforms, lasers, and killbots will try to fry you alive, as well as the return of the arena challenges from Going Commando. There's a greater variety of challenges to choose from this time around, making this arena a more interesting side quest than before. Finally, Ratchet can join the Galactic Rangers in a series of military operations against the Tyrannoids. While you're required to do some of these missions to get certain gadgets or advance the story, a number of these sections are completely optional. Not only do these Ranger sections throw some variety into the mission structure, they reward you with a hefty sum of bullets and some very useful gadgets. Overall, the side quests in this game are a lot of fun and in many ways improve upon those of the previous game. Graphically, Up Your Arsenal is easily the best looking R&C game I've reviewed. The character animations and lip syncing are just as awesome as before, and the muddy texturing and pop-up are a thing of the past. The game also makes use of some neat graphical effects and improves the overall lighting. The character designs are as great as ever, and the aesthetic design of the levels has tons of variety. My favorite looking world is probably Obani Draco, which has a cybernetic look to it with bright colors and these boombox looking things adorning the walls. And that reminds me, the music is amazing. Seriously, go give this shit a listen once you've finished watching this review. There seems to be more genre variety than before, while still remaining pretty damn catchy. My favorite tracks are Planet Florana, Planet Veldin, Planet Aquados, Obani Draco, the final boss theme, and one of my favorite video game tracks of all time, the Thran Asteroid. Aesthetically, the game improves even on the excellence of its predecessor. And now it's time to look at dem characters. I mentioned in previous reviews that one of the reasons I love the R&C series so much is because of the living and breathing universe it creates. And in my opinion, Up Your Arsenal takes the utmost advantage of this universe. And that's due in no small part to the excellent characters. Because the missions in this game center around the Phoenix and the Q-Force, there aren't nearly as many side characters to meet and interact with, but the few that are here still manage to be a lot of fun. Of course, old favorites like Darla Gratch and the Plumber make a return. No surprises there. The Galactic President has a handful of great lines in this game. You're always guaranteed a chuckle when this guy's on screen. The voice actor also does a nice Bill Clinton impression, if I do say so myself. You also meet this other parody character, Courtney Gears, later in the game. And though the reference kind of dates the game a little, the character herself is enough of her own thing that I don't care. One of my favorites is the Secret Agent Clank director. I can't tell if they're parodying someone in particular, but it doesn't matter because he's entertaining enough in his own right. The Q-Force is also a hell of a lot of fun. It's nice seeing some of my favorite side characters from the first game given more screen time. Skid McMarx actually has some of the funniest lines in the game, including what might possibly be the most quotable cutscene in the entire series.
Whoa! Like I never knew you were this kinky, Miss Gears.
Don't you ever shut up.
Okay, I'll zip it.
What's also really cool is that if you hang around the bridge of the Phoenix, you can actually see all of these characters having conversations with each other.
Mr. Robot Dude,
Aye, sir.
get the positronic matrix system up and running.
Roger.
Again, this sense of universe I've been talking about. Sasha, acting as Ratchet's love interest in this game, isn't as interesting as Angela, but she's still pretty likable. She's still just as smart and strategic, and more or less counterbalances Quark's utter stupidity. Our main dyad are more enjoyable than ever. I can safely say that the awkward bitching of the first game is a thing of the past. Ratchet keeps his no-nonsense commando personality from the second game, and with the strength of the writing, he's actually become quite the charming character.
That sector? No way. Game over, man. We're all gonna end up as scrap metal.
Get back in there, Trooper. We've got a planet to save.
Sir, yes, sir.
Clank doesn't feel anywhere near as dry as in Going Commando, and he actually has a pretty interesting character arc in this game. And then we have Dr. Nefarious. Oh boy. I could go for a nice serving of ham and cheese right about now. Dr. Nefarious is one of my old-time favorite video game villains. I mean, how could he not be? He's hilarious. One of the funniest characters in this series. Every time this guy's on screen, I'm in stitches. It's that simple. This guy has everything. A hilarious backstory? Check. An amazing voice? Checkers. Over-the-top dialogue and voice acting?
Dr. Nefarious, we've all enjoyed your past work, but how do you respond to critics who say your latest galactic schemes are just more of the same?
I will annihilate them!
Czech Republic. Comedic foil sidekick? Chekhov. It turns out that Nefarious was organic at one point, but an accident involving Captain Quark turned him into a robotic supervillain. How exactly? I dare not spoil it. It's probably the funniest cutscene in this entire game. He's not as deliciously malicious as Chairman Drek, but his over-the-top nature more than makes up for it. And it's not like this guy isn't evil or anything. His goal is more or less to wipe out all organic life and rule over a universe of robots, and he'll stop at nothing to achieve this goal. Nefarious' interactions with his butler, Lawrence, are just hysterical. Something about Lawrence's played straight delivery compared to Nefarious' overacting just makes for great comedy. Did I mention that this game has fantastic writing? And then there's Captain Quark. Oh mama. I mentioned in my review of the first game that this guy is my favorite character in the series, and that's largely because of Up Your Arsenal. Despite the Ratchet & Clank in the title, Up Your Arsenal is truly a game about Copernicus Quark. This game is about his backstory, his character development, and ultimately about how he redeems himself for his actions in the previous two games. Speaking of which, I love how everyone just sort of conveniently forgets about everything he did in the last two games and just instantly trusts the former hero and criminal mastermind with the safety of the galaxy. I'm actually being dead serious. In any other game, I'd feel like the writers didn't know what they were doing, but because it's Quark, a character that's so stupid, so cowardly, and so full of himself, it works. Despite the fact that he's played mostly for laughs, Quark's character arc still has a genuine sense of conflict. A conflict between Quark's desire to be a real hero and his inner cowardice. Insomniac Games, you deserve props for creating one of the funniest and most interesting characters in video game history. And now it's time for the spoiler section.
Ah, spoiler alert!
Summarizing everything that happens in this plot would take forever and would frankly be a waste of time. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'll give you the short version since you've probably played this game already anyway. The Q-Force, through a series of operations against the Tyrannoids, learned that Nefarious is secretly constructing a super weapon called the Bio-Obliterator on planet Dax, and that pop star Courtney Gears might somehow be involved in Nefarious' plans. Clank is able to meet with Gears, who kidnaps him and takes him to Dr. Nefarious. Nefarious presumably convinces Clank to join the dark side. Clank is able to point the Q-Force to Nefarious' Star Cruiser, when it turns out that the villain had set a trap for our heroes. The Doctor begins the self-destruct sequence on the ship, and though our main dyad are able to escape, Quark is presumably killed in the explosion while searching for a data disk. The Doctor then attempts to exact vengeance on Metropolis for a prior defeat, and turns the entire city and the Tyrannoids into robots. Ratchet and Clank confront Nefarious again, only to learn that the real Clank had been in his custody since his confrontation with Gears. The fake Clank is defeated and Ratchet and his robot body are reunited. After searching the wreckage of Nefarious' Star Cruiser, Ratchet and Clank are able to find a disc containing the villain's battle plan and also learn that Quark had faked his death. The pair track him down to his hideout on the Thrain asteroid, where the disgraced hero reveals that he faked his death so that he could avoid dying at Nefarious' hands. Ratchet leaves in disgust, but Clank reaches out to the fallen hero and tries to convince him to redeem himself. Our main duo eventually storm Nefarious' command center on planet Mylon and confront the Doctor and a powered-up Bio-Obliterator. The final boss fight with Nefarious is pretty tough, but it manages to be more engaging than the Drek fight, while avoiding the needlessly beefy health bar of the Meat and Protopet fight. For the first time, I can honestly say that an R&C game got a final boss battle done right. Nefarious flees into the Bio-Obliterator and transforms the weapon into a giant mech. Just when it seems all hope is lost, Quark swoops in on his spaceship and attacks the mech. Ratchet and Clank are able to take control of a hovership and end Nefarious' bid for galactic domination. What follows is a hilarious cutscene.
Warning. Reactor detonation in 60 seconds.
Lawrence, engage the teleporter.
Would you care to specify a destination, sir?
Who cares? Just get us out of here.
Time's up.
What? That wasn't even close to 60 seconds!
Bye-bye.
Next, all the side characters from the original trilogy all gather at a movie theater to watch the latest Secret Agent Clank holo film. Meanwhile, Nefarious and Lawrence drift aimlessly through space on an asteroid. As usual, you've got your challenge mode, where the bolt multiplier can go up to astronomical amounts if you can keep defeating enemies in the same streak. Weapons will also upgrade to an 8th Omega level and become even more powerful. As usual, the challenge mode helps add replay value to what is already an amazing game in its own right. And that was the awesomeness that is Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal. And I'm not sure how Insomniac managed to do it, but they topped going commando. The story is chock full of fun parodies, characters, hilarious cutscenes, dialogue, and harnesses the Ratchet & Clank universe as never before or since. The graphics and art direction are great, and the music manages to be catchy, experimental, and atmospheric, all at the same time. Gameplay-wise, the fantastic formula established in Going Commando has been tweaked the slightest bit further to allow for even more awesomeness and explosive fun. The addition of a challenge mode and the unforgettable story and characters guarantee that you'll be coming back to this game for at least a second playthrough. While Going Commando remains a spectacular game and one of my favorites in the series, Up Your Arsenal is just too much fucking fun to be anything less than my number one. While Going Commando is one of the best games on PS2, Up Your Arsenal is what I consider to be the best game on PS2. While some may disagree and point at games like Silent Hill 2 or MGS 2 or 3, those games lack the fluid control or excellent game design that Ratchet & Clank managed to polish to the nth degree, and that's something I'd like to stress. Ratchet & Clank may be my favorite Sony franchise in large part because of its excellent storytelling and sense of universe, but in the end, these elements augment and build upon fantastic, creative, and addicting gameplay, making the series of games more than just a collection of cutscenes with incidental gameplay thrown in for good measure. To use a pretentious metaphor, think about a delicious 7-layer cake. While the bread and the icing may be tasty when consumed separately, when the two elements are combined, the result is something more enjoyable than the sum of its parts. The same thing is true about video games. Strong gameplay is good. Masterful storytelling is also good. But when the two are given equal attention and set to complement each other, the gaming experience is ultimately better off for it. And that's something that I think Insomniac Games understood when they created Ratchet & Clank back in 2002. One of the reasons why this series is so much fun to play is because the storytelling is so great, and because it builds and maintains a living and breathing universe. But while that may be one of the reasons, it is not the only reason. The excellent gunplay, platforming, puzzles, and level design is what sells it. Without all of this, Ratchet & Clank might as well just be a movie. I'm totally gonna go see the Ratchet & Clank movie when it comes out in 2015, by the way, so look forward to some kind of video on that as well. Up Your Arsenal is the game that made me a Ratchet & Clank fan, and you'd only be doing yourself a disservice if you were to not pick it up and give it a go for yourself. And why not? You can get the original PS2 trilogy used off of Amazon for about $5 each, or you can shell out about $30 to get all 3 games remastered in HD on one Blu-ray disc on PS3. Even if you don't own a PlayStation console, trust me, the $40 to $50 it takes to own a used Sony PlayStation 2 is an investment you won't regret. The R&C series isn't the only series worth playing. This marathon has allowed me to fall in love with this awesome series all over again, and I hope I've convinced R&C noobs to pick the games up and try them out for themselves. If I have any Ratchet & Clank fans watching this video right now, I hope I've done this awesome series justice. Before I move on to my next marathon, I want to talk about 2 more PS2 games from 2 other popular Sony franchises, and possibly revisit a certain whiny and bitchy character. I've got a lot planned for this summer and little time to make it happen. Do me a huge favor and subscribe, and if for some reason you don't want to, at least drop a comment of some kind. It's interacting with what few viewers I get that makes all the recording, writing, and editing worthwhile. Until next time, I'm ExoParadigmGamer, and I hope you enjoyed this exorbitantly long review.
I thought we agreed to put that jungle business behind us. It was mating season. How could I have known she was your sister? How long have you two been standing there?
Too long.